What is going on, YouTube people? We have a special guest for today's video. This is a little bit of a redux of yesterday's, but instead of basketball, we're talking football. And when you went bad football takes, you bring on no other than Sports Cards Anonymous.
Challenge accepted.
So for anyone that didn't watch the basketball video, the purpose of this is we're looking at 1 year charts. I have pre-pulled a bunch of stuff. We're just going to kind of run through these. Dakota and I are going to probably just drop some bad hot takes on this stuff. Starting off with Brady, I have the PSA 9, just the base chrome, and the PSA 10. Both are down 50 to 60%. My take on this is his stuff was extremely overinflated.
I don't even like that. I don't even like it. It makes me cringe. It makes me cringe.
Really?
It makes me cringe.
He's looked bad. He's looked human.
Offensive line can't protect. No one's creating consistent separation.
And the Patriots have looked okay.
Bill, why did the offense regress to a point where since 2000 it had never scored as few touchdowns? You ended up with 31. You had 28 through 16 games, which 2000 was the last time there were that few. Why did that happen?
And so I think this year is hurting his legacy. I think this year is hurting his legacy. I think this year is hurting his legacy.
I know what that means. I know what that feels like, and I'm gonna fuck you up because of that.
If he didn't play, his cards would have come down, I'm sure. But I also think this year's hurting his legacy.
Guys, what are we doing here? Besides giving me content for Hot Takes Gone Wrong.
Thank you.
It's Tom Brady. Career leader in wins, yards, touchdowns. Everything! Except for maybe some single season records. 7 Super Bowls. 5 Super Bowl MVPs. 1 bad season at age 46?
I'm 45 years old, man.
With a terrible offensive line is going to erase all that.
Are you joking me, bro?
I think the problem with his cards,
I don't have a problem. You know, I don't have an issue.
Are what you said and what I said. There is just a certain segment of people that are like, nah, I don't want to own this. You know what I mean? We're not talking baseball today, but it's kind of the same argument you could put with Tatis. There's just a certain segment of people that are like, I just don't want to own his stuff.
What did you say?
And
Well, this was even worse than Tatis.
We're comparing what Deshaun Watson did to taking some HGH, steroids.
So you've gone insane. That's fun.
You don't think 20 to 50% of baseball players are taking HGH?
I believe that at a minimum, 20% of the 40-man roster players are using performance-enhancing substances. And I mean, that's a conservative number from the information I gathered over the years.
Eddie Dominguez should know. For 6 years, catching the dopers was part of his job with MLB's investigation unit.
So that would mean that there should be 100 ball players that test positive, and they don't.
More than 8,000 tests were done last season. Only 10 resulted in players being disciplined.
Speaking to sources that were chemists, the chemists always say that it's a cat and mouse game. As long as they know what the testing procedure is, they'll always be able to beat it.
I seem to recall you liking Barry Bonds as well.
Bonds, one of the most insane players I ever saw play in my entire life. Steroids aside and whatever else that he did.
His stats, while Hall of Fame worthy without the steroids, definitely weren't. I think he's top 5 in slugging percentage right now. If he had continued a natural trajectory through his late 30s and early 40s, he would have been top 25-ish. With steroids, he's up to 5. And I can't remember exactly the statistics, so it's much better coming from Bob Costas.
And you're not supposed to go at age 38
from a lifetime batting average of 290 and all of a sudden hit 370 and 362.
Yeah, no.
You're not supposed to have a lifetime slugging percentage of 556, which is good, but nowhere near the top of the list. Lifetime slugging average of 556, then slug 863 and have 2 other seasons over 800 and one at 799 in your late 30s and early 40s. It's incredible to maintain a high level of performance when most players are declining, let alone to improve stratospherically over anything you've ever done with an established pattern of performance for 13, 14 years, or anyone in the whole history of the game has ever done.
You don't think NFL players are taking HGH?
The NFL wanted to test for it, and they said the only way you could test for it is if you take blood. So the NFLPA then had to okay and agree to random blood tests happening throughout the entire year, just like there is random piss tests throughout the entire year for performance-enhancing drugs. Then that led to the conversation, well, what's the baseline for every human's growth hormone? So if you take, let's say, James Harrison's blood, are you comparing it to Ty Schmidt's human growth hormone, his natural hormone? How do you know what the baseline's going to be? And they fought on that for like months and months and months and months and months. The testing for the HGH got delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. And then they finally just agreed to start doing the drug test or the blood testing. And I still don't think anybody has ever failed it because I'm not sure they ever put a baseline out there. I think the agreement was, hey, we have to fucking like at least say we're testing for it, even though nobody's ever going to fail it because there's no natural baseline for whatever human has, because some might have more than other humans have. It's like, oh, so HGH is like the best drug of all time. So even if they try to test for it, they can't find it. It's like, holy shit, what is this thing? I think that is really the last hilarious bargain between the NFL and the NFLPA about performance enhancing. It was like, how do we keep HGH out of here? And then they were like, every doctor was like, you can't. It's impossible. God, we just got to test for it. Well, how do you know what the baseline was before? Did you test for his HGH whenever he was a child, and then as a teenager, then when he was a late teen, then whenever he was have you done that through his entire life? We don't know, because his growth hormone could have just shot up more than anybody else. Oh, so everybody can take it while we're still testing them for it? Yeah, but we can still say we're testing for it, right? Well, you are, kind of.
Yeah,
we're kind of cool.
You don't think your beloved LeBron James?
The guy just turned 38. He is still playing out of his mind. He's having an insane season statistic-wise. The guy is crazy. Obviously, I'm from Northeast Ohio. I'm a huge LeBron fan. I own quite a bit of LeBron cards.
Is taking HGH playing basketball at this level at 38?
Number 4, the steroid accusation. There was a huge video by Jimmy High Roller that perfectly explained why so many people are suspicious that LeBron took PEDs. And basically it boils down to this. LeBron was declining in 2015, and then he took 2 weeks off to go back to Miami to rest and rejuvenate. Dude never takes 2 weeks off in the middle of the season. That's wild. Then he comes back, and he was better than ever. At the time, there was a famous pro sports steroid scandal in Miami, and people at that clinic are 100% certain that LeBron was a client there. Now, I'm not saying that I totally believe that or that LeBron is guilty, but my ears perked up when just last week, a famous neuroscientist said this on the Joe Rogan podcast.
I know someone who's a professional basketball player, and I asked him about steroids, and he said, well, if you get injured, you can take up to 200 mgs a week, which is considered a TRT dose. But that's actually a pretty big dose.
So these guys are taking 2?
No, they're taking one of those a week is what they're allowed to take.
Huge.
Right, because most...
What? So according to his source, the NBA allows players to use PEDs if it's to recover from an injury.
I honestly don't care. Because for me, we can't expect these athletes to be superhuman without a little help. And to think one guy is taking it while other elite athletes are not looking for that edge, I don't think we should judge them. But we should definitely not compare looking for a competitive edge, which Mickey Mantle took PEDs.
Their livelihoods are contingent upon their physical performance.
Yes.
And so you got to
play like, what is it, 162 games in 180 days. It's the most physically grueling schedule of any of the professional sports. And guys have always been looking for an edge. In the 1950s, the Yankees were going out to Copacabana all fucking night.
Apparently, there's an Adderall issue with baseball as well.
Absolutely. A disproportionate number of baseball players compared to the general population are on Adderall. That's why I said it's a performance-enhancing drug. But you had guys like Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford and Billy Martin partying all night at the Copacabana. They have to make a 1 p.m. game, maybe even a doubleheader. They're doing greenies. They're doing amphetamines. It's always been a part of baseball is finding that edge.
Right.
Now, you got guys who are just looking to maybe recover a little faster, who are from injuries or fatigue. You're looking for guys who are looking to maintain peak performance for a longer period than their bodies might have otherwise allowed. Is it that big of a deal? I don't know.
It's not, and it's a weird deal. It's a weird thing that we have an issue with. Like, look, if they did the same sort of stringent testing with NFL players, you'd find out that everyone's on steroids.
It makes no sense to think that they're not taking it, and they shouldn't be vilified for taking it. They shouldn't. And I think this goes the way of marijuana in, I don't know, 10, 15 years maybe. But come on, let's not compare getting popped, taking a little HGH to recover from an injury to get back to your team, to Deshaun and his massage issues.
What kind of massage do you want? You left it blank?
Korean?